Hello guys. Basically, I've been receiving some questions about the VLOOKUP function, and I decided to make this video clip instead to answer the questions and also to explain to everybody out there who also have similar questions about VLOOKUP. So in this video, I'm going to explain how to basically use the VLOOKUP function and how to apply to our assignment in particular. So basically, now you can be able to apply it, but not only to our case, but also to any other application uh, be that would require using the VLOOKUP function. But okay, so the ingredients or the requirement for using the VLOOKUP function, you would need two things. The first thing is what I would call a cutoff table. So the cutoff table, basically, it's like a reference table, right? And in our case, what you would need is a cutoff table of the score and the letter grade, right? So this cutoff table from cell A13 to B20, right here, from A13 to B20. This is the cutoff table. So the cutoff table would contain a score which are arranged from lowest to highest, right? So in the techniques right here, number 3, I put make sure your cutoff table is in an ascending order, not a descending order. So you put score from 0 all the way to 100, right? And you assign the letter grade according to each score level. So for example, you will be receiving F if your score ranging from 0 to 49.999, for example. So if your score is 49, then this table will tell you, okay, you're gonna get an F, right? But if you get a 50, then your letter grade will be upgraded from F to D, right? So this table tells you that if you get a score from 50 to 59.999, then you're basically gonna get a D, right? You'll get a C plus if your score ranging from 60 all the way to 69.999, and so on, right? So you can see that the score will be arranging from the lowest to the highest score, and the letter grade will be typed, the input of the letter grade will be corresponding and will be arranged this way, right? So you have to put this cutoff table in the right order, in the ascending order, and put the corresponding letter grade according to each level of score they will be receiving. Okay, so that's the first ingredient, is the cutoff table. Okay, so make sure your cutoff table is in ascending order, and the letter grade has to be corresponding with each score level. The second ingredient in using the VLOOKUP is basically having the lookup value, right? So another table that we'll be using here is the actual score table, right? So you have all the students' name in the first column. You have the score that each student get. The score is basically the lookup value, right? And the third column is the letter grade. So what VLOOKUP does is basically if you want to assign whether or not what was the grade for Jane, right? So Jane received 43. Then if you look whether or not what 43 is corresponding to which grade, right? So you look at a table, so you get 43. 43 is associating with the letter grade F, right? Because 43 is less than 50, and if you're receiving score between 0 and 50, then you will get an F. So manually, you would just type F right here. So you know that now Jane received 43 and she will get an F. Likewise for Joe. So Joe, you can see that he got 88 for his score. and it will corresponding to the grade of B, right? Because according to the cutoff table, you can see that between 80 and 90, this guy will get a B. Manually, what you would do, the same thing, is to type B here. And you do the same thing with John. He got 69. 69 is corresponding to C minus. Jim he got 85. 85 is corresponding to B, and so on, right? But this is going to be very slow, and doing things, Excel can do it faster. And another downside is that if you do it manually, so you're very likely to make a mistake, right? So what you can also do, or tell Excel to do, is to use the VLOOKUP function. The VLOOKUP function will do just the same thing as you did before manually, but it can automate that process, and it's going to make it faster. It's going to make the process much easier, and it can avoid the human error. It can avoid a mistake that you would likely to make. So for the VLOOKUP function, I wrote the function in this text box right here. So the function is always going to start with the equal sign, right? Equal sign, and then VLOOKUP is the function name, and then you open the bracket right here, and always close the bracket all the way to the end, right? Okay, so any function would require input. For VLOOKUP function, you would need 4 inputs, right? The first one is lookup value. The second one is table array. The third one is column index number. And the fourth one, for this particular case, just input true, TRUE. Just literally just type in true, TRUE, in the very last column. In the very last input for this function. So okay, so here I'm gonna type equal VLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, and then open the bracket, right? So Excel will automatically show the how many inputs and what are the inputs that will corresponding to as you type. So it's gonna show you what you should put in. So the first one is the lookup value, right? The second one is table array right here. The third one is column index number right here, and the last one is it says range lookup, but basically just put true for this particular application. Okay, so the first input, lookup value. What's the lookup value? So the lookup value is basically which value that you would want to look up, right? Which value you would want to assign the letter grade, right? So this case is basically the score of each student, and in this cell you would want the output to be Jane's letter grade, right? So Jane's letter grade will be associating with Jane's score. So the lookup value is going to be Jane's score right here. So it's 43. So you basically you can either type this cell's address, I would say, this cell which is E14, right? 43 is in E14, or you just click this cell right here, and it will the font is, as you can see, it says E14 right here. I probably would want to change the color because it you wouldn't be able to see. Yeah, change to just wait. Okay, typing again. V lookup, open the bracket, lookup value. You can either type E14 or just click right here. So then E14 is appears, right, as the first input. So the first input is done, and you hit comma, and then the Excel will be automatically tell you that, okay, the next input that you have to put is the table array. What's the table array? Table array is basically the cutoff table, because it's the table that will be using to look up the value, right, where the 43 is going to be corresponding to which grade. So the table array is this cutoff table, basically. So how are you going to input the table array in this formula? What you have to do is basically highlight this table all the way from 0 right here, and you hold the mouse, right? You highlight it all the way down to cell B20, right? So the whole table in this highlighted red-ish area is going to be your table array, right? And you release the mouse, and now you can see that the second input in this VLOOKUP function is now says A14 colon B20. So A14 colon B20, it basically means that you already select cell A14 all the way to B20, which represent, you know, the whole table or the whole matrix right here. Okay, which is basically the table array that we'll be using to look up the score. Okay, so you now have two inputs. The first one is the lookup value in E14, which is basically Jane's score. The second input is the table array, which is basically the cutoff table they will be using to reference, to refer to when you would want to look up the grade. Okay? Now the third input, you hit the comma. Hit the comma, it says the third input is the column index number. Column index number. So what is the column index number? So the column index number is the number or the location of the column in the cutoff table that you want it to refer to. Okay? In other words, you basically see that, okay, you want the letter grade to appear here, right? In the cutoff table, you see that the cutoff table contains two columns, right? The first column is the score. The second column is the letter grade. First score, second letter grade. Since you want the letter grade to appear here, so you want the second column to appear here. Okay, so column index number would be the second column or 2. Number 2 says that the second column of the cutoff table will be an output, will be the output that you would want it to show in this output cell. Okay, you would not want to put 1 because 1 represents the score column, which is not what you want to appear, right? Because you want the letter grade to appear. Since the letter grade is in the second column, then instead of for column index number, you don't want to put 1. You have to put 2 because 2 represent the second column right here. Okay, so if you have more than 2 columns, for example, you have 3 columns or you have 4 columns. If the letter grade appear in the third column, then instead of number 2, you would want to put number 3, right? Because letter grade appears in the third column. But in this case, the letter grade appears in the second column of the cutoff table. So you put number 2 instead. So that's the third input for the VLOOKUP function. All the way to the fourth input, so basically you put comma and then you type true for this particular application. So for the fourth input, you actually have two options. The first one is true, or you either can put true or false right here. But with this particular application, which is the range search, right? So I gotta put true right here. So for the range search, it's basically that you want to search the number associating with each letter grade that is not exact search, right? So the range search is basically Jane has what's her score again? Okay, so she got 43, right? So 43 isn't really show anywhere here, right? There's no number 43 literally in the cutoff table, right? There's no 43, 42, 41, but instead you have the whole range, the range of the score, right? From 0 to 50, there's no 43 that is literally written, literally typed between these two numbers. But by okay, yeah, by saying true, it will tell this Excel to look up for the range. If you say false, then it will tell the Excel to look up exactly where the 43 is, which I will show you how to use the exact search later in the next video. But here again, okay, so for this VLOOKUP function, you have E14 as a lookup value, you have A14 all the way to B20 as a table array, or the cutoff table, the reference table. Number 2 here is the column index number, which is where the letter grade is located in the cutoff table, and true for the range search, not the exact search, right? And then you hit enter. So now you can see that the letter grade is F, right? Which is the same thing that what you would do manually, right? Because Jane has a 43 in her score and she would get an F because 43 is between 0 and 50 and she get an F. Okay, and now you would do the same thing for Joe. Okay, so you basically want to type equal VLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, open the bracket, and repeat the same step, right? Lookup value is 88, or this cell E15 right here. So just click E15. Second input is table array. Table array is this cutoff table. Again, you highlight all the way from A14 to B20. That's a table array. Comma, the third input is the column index number, which is 2, because the second column is the letter grade. Since you want the letter grade to appear here, and the letter grade is at the second column of this cutoff table. So you just put 2, comma, true. And then you hit enter. Then he got a B, right? Because Joe, he got 88, and 88 is between 80 and 90. If you have a grade between 80 and 90, you'll get a B. And you would do the same thing. VLOOKUP, open the bracket, lookup value is 69, which is E16, comma, table array is the same table from 0 to here to A right here, which is cell E14 to B20, which is the same thing, comma, column index number is 2, and then true. Enter. Right? She got a C minus. He got a C minus because he got 69. 69 is between 60 and 70, and he got a C minus. Right? And you repeat the same step all the way down. But the techniques, another techniques that I'm gonna show, which is at the second, first and second techniques that I'm going to show, is to make your process much faster, right? Because now you can see that what I did is basically just retype all the formula, and then for the next person I'm gonna retype the formula again, which also would be very likely to make a mistake, right? So what you would do is the following. So you have the letter grade right here, right? And you can either basically right click and then copy the cell, and then you can fill every single cell and paste it, which is actually not true. And I'm gonna show you why. Okay, I'm gonna delete this for now. Okay, what you have to do is that the first technique that I'm gonna show you is the F4. The F4 or Command plus T for Mac user, right? If you use Windows, then the technique that I'm gonna show you is the button F4 on your keyboard. Or if you're using Mac right now, which is I am using Mac right now, so I'm gonna use the Command plus T, right? You hold Command and then you hit the letter T if you're using Mac right now. So why I'm doing this? So when you're copying the formula, right? So you can see, okay, so I'm gonna copy this cell, right? And then I'm gonna paste it, copy the cell F14, and then I'm gonna paste it at F15. Okay, so I'm gonna copy it, which is basically okay the same thing. I'm gonna right click, copy, and then right click, add the new cell that you would want to paste the formula, and then hit paste. Okay, and we're gonna analyze it very slowly here. So for Jane's score, she got 43, right? And she received an F, which is true because you already did the formula and you did it very carefully. VLOOKUP E14, A14 to B20. This is the cutoff table. The second column index number is the letter grade, which is number 2 here, and then you put true, right, for the range search. Now, when you copy the formula to F15 for Joe's score, right, we're going to analyze his formula very carefully here. So now you can see that the first input in the VLOOKUP is E15, right, which is true because, okay, this is the E15, this is the value that we're going to look up. The second input, this is very important, the second input is A15 to B21 instead of being A14 to B20 that we did before, right? So where does it go? So now the cutoff table is now at A15 to B21, right? It doesn't even cover A14. It doesn't even cover the letter grade F, right? So this new cutoff table, if you naively or not being careful enough when you copy the cell, it's gonna mess up your life, basically. So okay, and this is wrong, right? Because instead of A15 to B21, instead it should be A14 to B20. That should be the correct formula for Joe's score, right? For John's score as well. Okay, so basically I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna copy the formula right here and then paste at John's letter grade right here. Okay, he still got a C minus, but again, okay, you can see that the formula is now read E16, right, which is the lookup value is 69, still true. But now the table array has moved from A14 to B20 to now is A16 to B22, right? You can see that the cutoff table has moved instead of being like this, right? But it's now moved from to A16 all the way to B22, which is like a blank, right? And you don't want that to happen because what if John received like a 43 or something? Then that wouldn't cover all the possible range that his score would be assigned a letter grade to. And instead of A16 to B22, what you have to do is that you have to make it A14 and make it B20, right? Because that would be the correct answer. And you hit enter, right? So now you see the problem of when you're copying the cell, and it will be very likely to mess up your life, right? Because the cutoff table or the reference table is going to move, and that's not very nice because you're very likely to make a mistake. Okay, so There are two things that you can do to avoid that mistake, and also to make your life much easier when you do Excel. What you have to do, oh, okay, I have 2%. What you have to do is first use F4 for Windows user or Command plus T for Mac user in order to fix the reference cell or reference table. Oops, I'm gonna put table. VLE. Okay. Use F4 or Command plus T in order to fix the reference cell or reference table. Here, in your formula, the reference cell is the table array, right? The table array is the table that you have that you want to refer to at all time, whether or not how you're gonna copy the formula to whatever cell to wherever cell, whichever cell that you want to copy the formula to, but you still want to hold this table array to be A14 to B20 at all time, right? Because I already showed you that if you copy the cell to if you copy the formula to a different cell, then this table array is going to change. It's not going to be A14 to B20, but it's going to be it's going to be A15 to B21. Sometimes it's going to be A16 to B22, and you don't want that to happen, right? What you can do is that you can fix that reference cell or that reference table at all time, whether or not how you copy the cell, how you copy the formula, then this table, this reference table is going to be fixed. However, or wherever you're going to you copy the cell to, or you copy the formula to whatever cell, right? Okay. So hit the F. Okay. So you put your mouse and the cursor. It has to be blinking around this reference cell, right? You have A14 right here. What you do is that you click right here, and then you hit F4 or Control T for a Mac user. Then now you can see that there's this $sign between the letter and the numbers right here. And you do the same thing with this cell, B20. You hit F4 or Control T for Mac user. Now you can see that instead of A14 to B22, but now there are $signs, A $14, $B $20. This $signs is going to fix the reference cell, right? And now you can see that however you are going to copy the cell, right? Okay, so you copy the cell and then you paste it here. Now you can see that before the reference table would change, right? From A14 to A15, it would change from B20 to B21. But now since you fixed it with these $signs, so now the reference table are fixed, right? However you copy the cell, it's now going to fix or refer to the same table at all time. Okay, so you kind of do the same thing. You copy it, and then you paste it. You copy it, and then you paste it. You copy, paste, you copy, and also paste. You copy and paste again. So now you can see that the reference cell, right? Now you move to this cell is C minus, is still referred to the same table, A14 to B20. You click here, you can see that it still referred to the same table, A14 to B20. You click here, it still refers to the same table, A14 to B20, so on and so forth. Okay, so now you learn how to use F4 or Command T to fix the reference cell or reference table. Another technique that I want to show you is the autofill. The autofill is basically offer the way to copy and paste the cell very, very quickly. So instead of right-click, copy, right-click, paste, right-click, paste, right click, paste. This is not efficient, right? It's very time consuming and very likely to make a mistake as well. So the autofill, what you can do is that if you see in this very cell, right, in this F14, and you can see that when you select it, you will see this little, I don't know, black or greenish square right here. This is the autofill button. Okay, so this button, it actually gonna offer you to copy and paste the cell very fast and very efficiently. So you basically put your mouse on top of it, and then you can see that now the cursor has changed from the white cursor to the black cursor, smaller one, and now you double click it. See? Now it's auto-filled, right? You don't have to copy and paste every time you fill it. You want to fill these cells, but you just double click it, and then it's gonna go all the way down. Or alternatively, you can hold it. You hold this autofill button, and then drag it down. Hold and drag, and then release. And now you can see that it's gonna autofill your formula here as well. And now it is. And thank you for listening.